Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual as Fuck or Whatever podcast. I'm Roxan McDonald.
And I'm Joe Clements.
And today we're going to be talking about the 5 precepts of Buddhism. But first, we're going to ask Joe what he did in Thailand. Dun, dun, dun.
Love it.
All right, Joe. Let's go. Let's talk about what you did on retreat. What did you do in Thailand, Joe?
Ooh. Well, it was the second year I went there, and last year I went with a friend of mine and went and visited his teacher, Ajahn Amaro, and we got some time to talk to him. And Buddhist monk from the Thai forest lineage. What is I forget the name of his monastery. It'll come later to me, maybe.
Were you at the monastery?
No,
You were at a retreat center?
Yeah, it was in
But not
Bangkok.
the kind that you get massages at or foot anything. They don't do anything nice to your feet.
Okay. But last year we
It
met
was
him.
austere.
He's known him for 25 years or whatever, blah,
Okay.
blah, blah. And we got to just have some talks with him last year and tripped around Bangkok. And he was doing a private retreat last year that he does every year. And we're like, oh, can we go to this retreat? And he's like, it's private. But this year we got invited to go.
Oh.
Super cool.
How many people?
There was like 30 people, all Thai women.
Oh.
It was only 3 dudes.
Wow.
Crazy. It was super cool. So, yeah. So, 3 dudes. I'm trying to sit in the back. Like, I'm just like, all right, I'm going to fucking chill in the back. And they're like, I had my little chair. I was like, I can sit in my cushion once in a while, be totally spiritual, but it gets fucking hectic. So I'm going to sit in my chair, kind of go back and that's what I like to do. And this lady's like pointing to me. She goes, like, come up front. And I'm like, what? And she says something about water or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, shit. So she fucking put me right in front of Ajahn Amaro, like in the front of the room. Like, fuck.
What was it about water?
Well, there's a segue to this, but I was confused. So with the Ajahns, with the monks, this is some fucking patriarchal shit that we'll fucking talk about. Women can't offer them anything, and they need to be offered everything. They need to be offered water, food, but not from women, only from men. And I see the look. there's some more to that story. So that was interesting. So I think she wanted me up there to offer him water, and I think not all the men in the back. One of the men up in the front. I think. I'm not totally sure on that one. So anyway, I'm up front. Fucking damn, I can't fucking weasel out of any meditations because I'm right in front of the fucking main dude. And what the fuck? So it was cool. I was in front, but the water thing, I was confused. Other people started offering him water, and I'm like, okay. And by the 3rd night, I think.
How much water does this dude drink?
Every time he comes in, they bring him a new thing of water, like for the day or whatever, or the night. And like a little kind of a glass with a pitcher kind of thing. And I asked the lady that was doing kind of the organization stuff, I'm like, I wasn't supposed to talk, but I brought her aside and I'm like, am I supposed to bring water? She goes, no, that's okay. I'm like, all right. And then the next night she goes, oh yeah, can you bring him water? And I'm like, sure. So I brought the water, put it up there, and he was doing a talk, like an hour talk. And he wasn't drinking the water. And I'm like, fuck. And it was like the 3rd night, and his talks were fucking awesome. It was like right to Buddhist teachings, right to like just fucking super. He has a British accent too, so it was just like really intrigued. I was really intrigued with just the voice, but he really said the teachings in a practical way that were just fucking so palatable, so applicable.
Applicable.
Applicable, right? Yeah. Applicable. And it was fucking awesome.
Applicable.
So I was like fucking intrigued, and I loved the talks. It was like the nights. I was like, cool. That I snuck in the back on those ones, and I got a chair. It was night, and it's like outside in this fucking cool house, this lady's house, where we meditated kind of in this canopy outside in the forest, the Thai forest. It's fucking beautiful house. And so, and he lit there's candles, and there's the 4 monks and the nun over to the side. Yeah, another thing we'll probably talk about. But it was just beautiful. It was a beautiful setting, and the sound, the teaching was awesome every night. But that night, all I fucking was watching was he wasn't drinking water. And I can hear in his voice, it was getting a little graspier, and he kept doing a couple of and I'm like, oh, fucking, why isn't he drinking the fucking water? I offered it to him. Because they're not supposed to take anything unless it's offered.
Did you like make eye contact and like, hey?
Well, here's the thing. This is why I'm like, oh shit, he never touched it. Because you hand it to him, and then they touch it, and then it's theirs.
Oh.
He never touched it. So I'm like, oh fuck, I fucked up. I'm a bad water boy. I'm the worst water boy ever. So that fucking talk went out the door. And then, so the next day I'm like, I'm fucking getting this right. All right. So if I can bring the water up and he's not there yet, so I put it down. I'm like, oh, I'll get him when he's there. And he does a guided meditation, or no, we did chanting. It was chanting every fucking morning. There was a lot of chanting, a lot of bowing. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I liked the chanting a little bit. It was pretty cool.
But you were expected to bow?
Yeah, I didn't know when to, though. It was like I was just kind of watching. Yeah, you had to bow like 3, but you didn't have to, but it was like everybody else was doing it. So it was like, the monks bow, he bows, the monks bow, then the people bow, or some shit like that. Like the students bow, I think.
But were you like in his face, like, touch the fucking water, Ajahn Amaro?
So I handed it to him.
Amaro?
Amaro.
Okay.
I give it to him, and he goes like this. He puts his hand up, just like no, or something, like, oh fuck, okay. So I let that one go, and then I went to go do it again, but he was getting ready to lead his meditation. He was just kind of eyes closed, sitting there, and I'm like, dude, I kept nodding, like, touch the fucking water, and he wouldn't. And I looked over at the monk, like one of his monk homies or students, and I look at him like, oh, and he just kind of smiles at me with this blank stare, and I'm like, fuck, I just put it down and walked out. I'm like, fuck, whatever.
What was his deal with the water?
So the fucking nun, my savior, fucking women, fucking hooking me up, she comes out, she goes, the monks don't need to touch water. You just offer it to them. They don't need to touch that. It's everything else.
He just wasn't thirsty.
Yeah, I guess
that
not.
dude caused you so much strife.
so much suffering, so much to practice with, but it was just like, and I'm like, oh, thank you so
much to practice with,
It
Joe.
was a lot to practice with.
Oh my God.
But the cool thing about it was to practice with, because what happened for me before, I fucking blew it. I suck. I can't do this. I'm the worst. Over that one thing, how I'm lame, I just laughed at it. I fucking was goofy with it. Like, oh, this is fucking hilarious. But it was something to practice with. But it was kind of.
Do you know why women aren't allowed to offer them stuff? Is it so they aren't temptressed?
Well, I didn't want to totally get into. I mean, we can get into, because I think that's a great conversation to have, because that's one thing that pinged for me. All the meditations were beautiful. All the teachings were beautiful. His humor and it was great. But in the Theravadan tradition and Buddha and that tradition, the nuns, no matter how long they've been there, will never. There's a hierarchy. There's a patriarchy. So it's just been in there since the Buddha wrote it in there, like in the kind of rules, laws, or something, because of the time. I asked the nun about. I couldn't have a one-on-one with her, or one-to-one, because there had to be either one of the monks with her or someone else. But I was asking her, she was having a conversation with another woman, and I noticed that she was answering some questions, and I asked her, could I have a conversation with you? And she told me, well, yeah, I'd love that, but but the lady, it can't be just me and you. So the lady that she was talking to, she goes, oh, I'll come. And I'm like, cool. So had this conversation, and I asked her about not her view, but just I just asked her how she feels about the patriarchy in the monastery, and she didn't have a lot of answers. This is just the way it's been. This is the what's set. Did tell me that she, in all the monasteries, this one, Ajahn Amaro's monastery, she's very well respected there. But she sits on a platform that's lower. She has to go last when they're all getting food. So that's one thing that pained for me. Yeah. So what I'm saying is the teachings and everything are beautiful, but I kept seeing this and it was like, why? So it was like, yeah, I know I'm ruffling your feathers, kind of not ruffling your feathers, but I know there's some stuff coming up for you, and I don't want to dismiss the teachings of Buddha, and she said, I'm here for liberation, and what a place to put my practice of, nothing else fucking matters but my liberation, and it sounds like she's getting that,
No, I don't judge. I think that. I mean, we're going to be starting to talk about feminism and social issues and things like that.
Yeah.
I think I have touched on that there were traditions within Buddhism that turned me off, and
Yeah.
that's why
yeah,
I
we've
stopped.
talked about it. Yeah.
So I don't think I think one of the tenets of feminism is to stop fucking telling women what to do, and especially telling women what to do with their bodies. And so I would not go to that woman and be like, how could you? That's anti-feminist. I think that's a really bad, I think it's something that women have done that's totally misogynistic over the years, and used feminism as an agent of patriarchy and misogyny, of get one against another, in which I think women are just as misogynistic, if not more, than men in certain things. But I would never go to her or any woman that has chosen that, because that's the system they're in. I think, as somebody who has and that there's a thing for me where I'm like honoring of other cultures and understanding that I don't quite understand everything, and that I don't get to come in and tell you right or wrong. But when it comes to gender and social issues such as homophobia, which is rampant in a lot of cultures, it's a difficult spot for me. But I just personally wouldn't want to be. I think that needs to get challenged, especially when it's like Westerners coming in and participating and leading those things. Why not challenge it?
Well, and that's one of the reasons why, having conversations with you and just being in this conversation, I am so in love with the Dharma. I really am, and it's been such a great practice for me, and I was really having a retreat, but that's one thing that pinged for me, and I didn't want to, like you were saying, I didn't want to challenge her or anything. I just wanted her perspective.
Yeah.
What is being a nun? And I felt like, if anything, so I can come back and just talk to my sisters that are into the Dharma, and this is one thing there wasn't any answers. She didn't really have any answers, I didn't feel. Then that's just the way it's been. There's a story, the Buddha split up the Sangha in four. I can't get in. I don't know the story well enough to articulate it, but basically, Buddha's mother-in-law was asking him, his cousin or one of his main monks was saying, "Can your stepmom wants to know if she can be liberated, if women can be liberated," and
the Buddha had a stepmom.
Yeah.
Aww.
His mom died at birth.
Oh.
At his birth.
Oh.
Yeah. So the story goes. But anyway, I'm getting the story a little
so the
wrong.
Stepmom
But
wanted to
she wanted to know if women can be, because at that time in India, women weren't allowed in any spiritual communities. They weren't. It wasn't. It was totally segregated. And he's like, yes. But there's got to be some rules so that everybody, so we're not otherwise this isn't gonna last. This, in this culture, at that time, I think So
There's
he put
so
on
much protection of toxic masculinity,
Yeah, so- and it started from ancient.
men
That's
need to be
26
protected from the temptation of women
Yeah,
instead
well,
of like
there's-
deal with your shit.
Okay.
Like deal with your shit.
understand.
That's the thing that gets me about all of this
Yes.
stuff. It's like, oh, we need to segregate because male desire, and I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. Like that, like
I
we don't
hear
need
you.
to always fucking navigate around male desire. Oh, poor guys, they can't concentrate because they've got dicks. And makes me so mad. And then people will try to like discuss. I'm like, oh my god.
Should we not talk about this topic right now?
No, it's fine. It's fine. We're
I want to
going
talk
into
about
it.
this topic, and I'm,
Yeah,
you know, it's
but
like,
it's like
yeah.
that's we're dealing with culture. That's the reason why I want to help. I want to be an agent of shifting culture to being way more kind and tolerant and conscious. And so
yeah,
that's why culture is so important, because it's just like that's the water we're swimming in.
Well,
so even Buddha, when he was like making me burp, all enlightened and shit, and he's still just like, ugh,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And who knows what really went down? I don't fucking know. This 2,600 years ago, and it stayed in the system, especially in Thailand, because just their cult, like you say, you keep saying the culture, that's their culture over there, and
But
not
culture
dismissing
can be
it.
challenged and
I'm
changed.
just saying, and it's exactly, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to just ask her, just to not to challenge, just to say it. Just to bring it, and that's where I love you so much. Can I keep going, or do you want more? Because I can give you more. I mean,
About
I can't
this
give you.
story
I don't
about
want to.
the
I'm not going to give you more. But
segregation?
if you want to talk more on that, I'm okay with it.
No, I think the male desire thing gets me, and the male gaze, and I think we're going to start talking about that. But I just want to say about culture changing, and can I just segue that the idea that male desire is so big that they have to be shielded from women, and the temptation of women in order to concentrate, it is like it's so prevalent in so many societies, and then when you challenge it, it actually isn't real. Like one of the things that is amazing to me is that I teach at a retreat center called Esalen Institute, and they have baths, and it's they're hot springs, and it's mostly nude. And the culture there's no sign up saying don't be a creep, blah blah blah. It's pretty much just like one side's silent, the other side's quiet, but the culture there is so clear, like you just don't get creepy, and you go there and people are walking around buck naked, and the male gaze is not happening. It's just culturally, like you just don't do it. And it's like, it's so clear that when we shift our culture, people can act well, and that people honor each other's space. Like of course there's sometimes like, every once in a while there'll be somebody who's not quite up on the culture, but then it's regulated. Like one time I saw a guy staring, and another guy came up and was like, "What's up, dude?" And then the guy dealt with it, but it wasn't like it wasn't like, "Oh, what the fuck?" It was just like, "Hey, we don't do that here."
Yeah.
And so I just am like, it can be changed.
Yeah.
But I think just, I don't want to go change Thai culture or whatever, but I just can't participate in shit like that. See, if I was there, I'd probably have to be like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
I don't want to participate. I don't want to get money. I don't want to be a part of anything that makes, people sit on lower platforms because of what gender they were raised as. Mm-hmm. Okay, tell me more about segregating into four.
No, I feel like there's.
Is it caste too? Was it caste? Was it caste? Because the other thing that gets me is classism. Classism. I'm spiritual. Okay.
I think this is a segue.
A segue into.
How do I, as a male, be a feminist? Mm-hmm. How do I be an ally? Because I mean, I want to put that conversation of how my retreat went aside, because what I came out of there with that whole situation is, yes, the Dharma means so much to me, and has been so transformative for me. I'm not a Buddhist. in the Buddhist religion. There, with any kind of shit like that, just not my thing. But the practice, 100%. The teachings, 100%. So that's what and can we change that here? Yeah, absolutely. Can I change that in my practice in the communities that I'm a part of? Yes. So with that being said, how can I be a feminist? How am I a feminist? How can a man be a feminist? How can a man be an ally? You know, I'm open to that. I think that'd be a great conversation.
Yeah, I think that it's a just like it is for me to unpack constantly the myself about feminism. It's not one way. You know, it's like it's opening your eyes and opening your eyes and opening your eyes and opening your eyes. Just like
seeing, just seeing at that retreat.
Just to start to see. The other part though is like, I can say I would not be a part of that. There's the other part where you just maybe don't go, I'm not a part of that. Like maybe you already are a part of that and then you deal with it from the inside. Like I have that within the 12-step group that I'm in, that I am a part. And that I've had a long history with this, and I am definitely a part of that fellowship.
Right.
And that me just stepping away from it when I was like, whoa, there's so much patriarchal shit in here that is not within the scope of what I believe is right. And then I want to go, I'm just not going to go anymore. But then it's like, no, I'm a part of that. It's been almost 30 years. And so I have chosen to stay and engage in a conversation and be an outsider within what I'm a part of, and be people don't like me, and because a lot of people are really flustered by how I've shown up, but I'm like, well, I'm a part of this, so I don't get to just say I'm not. So for me being an ally, when I'm going like, I want to be an ally for gender nonconforming people. And so I am speaking up about things and making myself visible because my gender nonconforming friends and people I don't even know, like the people like that community, they don't get to not be visible. So I get the choice to be visible or not. So I'm making a choice as an ally to make myself visible as being somebody who wants this to change. So I would think like part of me would go, maybe you do delve into a Buddhist community and start to have these conversations because you have the privilege of knowing the Dharma, having a long history, having a voice, and you use that voice. But it's always like you never know. Part of it is like one instance, it's like, don't go. Another instance, it's go.
Yeah.
It's using it as a consistent navigation device to just go, what direction am I going?
Right.
And I think of like the North Star of like, okay, the North Star is equality and equity. And that if I am, instead of looking at my own comfort or my own comfort sometimes is I want surety and I want to be right. And that can put me in a trajectory that is actually not leading towards equity for all. Yeah. And so my own comfort tells me no, right, wrong, leave, stay, participate, don't participate. But a lot of times it's like you sometimes participate because you have certain information but I think to consistently be opening your eyes to it.
So as an ally, using my power as a man to change the culture within my spaces. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. And
seeing, my eyes are open. Like they're definitely like just being there was like, oh, where maybe I haven't seen that really before. It's like, oh, that's just the way it is. This is just the culture. This is just the dynamic. But it really like, I was like, this doesn't feel right, Yeah. So that was my eyes, and it wasn't just like seeing; it was a feeling. I felt it, and it didn't take me away from my practice, really, but it definitely was like something that I wanted to investigate a little bit more, and yeah. So I guess you answer my question, how can I be a feminist? How can a male be a feminist and an ally,
Well, I would wonder if there's any Buddhist feminists that are
Yeah.
having a
Well,
discussion about this?
There's in actually at Amravati, I think is the place where there was a handful of nuns, bhikkhunis, that left the monastery, and I asked the nun about that, and she said that that it could have been a good message, but it was done in an unskillful way. I don't know how that was. I don't know much about it, but they left the monastery.
Well, the establishment rarely thinks that, derision or conflict is skillful. So I would say a lot of times I have seen with personal experience and watching outside is that I've been told, I've been wrong for speaking up, and they don't want to listen to the message, so they say that it was, that it wasn't graceful.
Yeah,
and so
in my practice with any stuff that I'm offering too, and I don't want to be the fucking good dude kind of thing, but it's
called virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling. I don't want to virtue signal.
Well, we're gonna.
Yeah,
we're
I think it's important. Like I do.
Fucking do that.
I do.
We're white people with a podcast.
Exactly, yeah.
About spirituality.
Exactly, yeah.
We're virtue signaling.
Yes.
There's no getting around it.
And I thank you for naming it, and being uncomfortable or being clunking around with this kind of stuff. But I think it's important for males and I guess we'll just keep talking about the Buddhist tradition and how it is in Western Buddhism, that we do have the privilege, I don't even want to call it a fucking privilege, but we can, I think it's important to have a female up at the front. A female voice up at the front of the room is so important. And that's one thing that I didn't ask the nun, but I'm like, God, what if she was so cool and she had had a lot of wisdom? How many people could she fucking, and that's not what she's there for. She's there for her own liberation, but how many people could she really fucking help in the Dharma? How many people she could reach with her voice, a woman's voice. And I don't know. And I think it's important in Western Buddhism for us to do that. So I try to do it as, I do a group with my good friend Jessica, and she's fucking a great teacher.
Yeah.
I learned so much from her, so, and there's so many great women teachers.
Yeah, but I think to even look for feminist people who are looking at feminism in Buddhism, looking at
for feminism,
like somebody who's taken that on, just like sometimes I have chosen to use my platform. I have chosen to become a teacher, and I have chosen to take on those topics because I'm into it. So people can look to me and ask me questions about feminism and spirituality because I have chosen it. And that is not that I'm going to, just like when I seek out people of color talking about race and equity and white supremacy, I don't get to go up to any person that's, sharing a space with me and being like, you don't want to make them teach.
No,
it's not their job.
No, exactly.
And so then finding people who going, okay, I've decided to take this on, and maybe you pay them, you support them, you follow them, and so that would be the thing I would look for. And I'll go look for it with you to go like, are there female Buddhists talking about feminism, and can you support them? That's
a good point. But another point to that too is like, it's not your job to teach me.
Yeah, but I've chosen to.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a person of color job to show me where my shadows are. Yeah. With race culture, with racism. It's not. It's my own work to do within. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. That's the kind of thing. So it's like watching that where it's like.
My friend told me something that changed my life. Like I'm not gonna. Well.
I almost rubbed the bottom of my foot.
I a couple years ago went to one of in my family, and she's a person of color, and I started asking her questions and putting her in a position to have to teach me.
Yeah.
And she very graciously talked to me about it, but she just kept saying, Google it. Google it. It's your job to Google it. Have a question? Google it. And she
Yeah.
would, you know, and that changed me because I hear her all the time of like, just inform yourself. If I have a question, don't put it on somebody else to inform me.
Yeah.
Like I can go Google it and go and investigate. And the thing that I think is that it's so radical when as a person who has chosen to talk to people about feminism, especially men. But I just, you know, called in I was in a group of women the other night and I was like, I got to call this out. Like, I can't do this anymore about feminism, right? To just go and people are like, yeah, I want to be a feminist. I want to help. I want to be an ally. And I go, okay, what feminist authors are you reading?
Right.
Have you read XYZ books? Because I have. And so like
just doing the work,
just do some work,
Yeah.
just get interested in it, because that, I mean, just like where I, you know, when I've started to research about about white supremacy and about how, you know, racism is everywhere and how I'm racist and all of that, it's my job to go read. And so like doing a challenge of like making sure you're reading and or following, if you're not a reader, like going in and getting interested in experiences not your own and supporting people like not your own, like just to go like you don't have to understand it, you don't even have to be an expert on stuff, and then from there making changes in your speech and your actions and in your community. And you know, I would think as a Buddhist person, maybe you'll be directed to, you know, or go to retreats that are run by women, so that you're giving money to, you know, a woman.
So it's more than just seeing and having the conversations with my feminist women friends.
Yeah.
It's actually doing my own work as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm in the conversation, but actually how do I support and how do I actually educate myself more around it? And I've done that. I've been doing that a lot with race and racism. I've been doing some work with that, and got a racial affinity group that I'm part of. We talk about where, you know, group of white people that talk about where racism's coming up in our life and it been a part, and you know, and I think that's a part of calling in. And we talk about it. I mean, one of my friends, she's a part of the group. She's a feminist. She's feminist. But we say, go get your girl or go get your boy. It's like, it's about us to, when we see one of people from our race acting out, go get your boy. It's not tell the person of color, oh yeah, that sucks, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, go get your boy and educate that person, you know, kind of same thing here, where it's like, not tell you how good I'm doing or how that sucks for you kind of thing. But no, go and fucking, with my own education, my own knowing what feminist is, and then have a conversation with this person within my gender. Is that kind of what you're saying too?
Yeah.
So,
or without.
Or without the education.
I mean, I don't know if
just having a conversation.
I guess a guy explaining something to women is like touchy. Like I wouldn't say. I would say as a man, explain to women less. So yes, go within. If it's a person who identifies as male, but also to just go like.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
No.
Like I think you could leave maybe the feminism to women.
Yes,
I will deal within you know, dealing with like embodied misogyny within female identified people. I can do that.
Yes, yes.
Because I don't think
not my job.
I don't think it would be done very well if a guy called me out on misogyny, even though. That's the thing, though, is like we're always going to be wrong. That's the reason why it's hard to talk about. Is because when you start to look at these, you're always going to be wrong.
And I'm learning and I'm making mistakes
all the time.
And what is cool is I've been trying to surround myself. I've been working on surrounding myself with people are in the same conversation, and like you, anybody like when I fumble, I stumble over here. It's like, no, just come over here. It's not like what the fuck you doing? It's like I'm bouncing around and coming back, and that's the fear of like putting it out here. No one's going to hold. It's just going to be like, no, it's fucking wrong or whatever, you know? So I'm a little afraid of that kind of thing. Perception, how I'll be perceived. You know, I want to be a good person.
Yes.
You know? And I am a good person, and I got a lot to learn. And, you know, there's a lot to be learned in our society. And you know, it's like in just my fucking little group of friends, you know?
Yeah. It's in my little group of friends too.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, so fucking, just the other night and I felt like I was reflecting on it last night, or the other night. I was sitting there and there was something that said a fucking racist comment, and I was at someone else's house watching football, and I like football, you know, and
I don't.
I know, and I forget why I watch it alone. Because
with your flute.
With
Joe,
my flute.
Just if you follow Joe online, you'll see, but he doesn't explain it as much as he should. He plays his wooden flute as a way to give good luck to the 49ers.
Not. No, it's to calm my ass down because
you have said you think that they win when you play your flute.
I don't believe in magic.
But
it's a meditative thing. I breathe into the flute and it makes them win because it's magic.
Yeah. And he might watch football alone because people don't like his fucking flute.
No, well, a little bit of that, but a little bit of that. A little bit of that. I didn't bring my flute over. I should have brought it over to Dude's house because I knew that there was going to be a certain type over there. And I didn't want to fucking deal with that. I was already wearing my Kaepernick jersey and I didn't want to hear that kind of shit, whatever people's opinions are. But there was a just a fucking offhanded comment, and it just went, oh, and I wanted to leave, and I didn't. I just knew it was wrong, and why did you fucking say that? You know, I don't even want to say what he said, but it's just like, fuck, you know? And the other night, it's like, I want to be able to say something like that's fucking not cool and just leave. You know, and this is why it's not cool, why I feel like it's not cool. And maybe no, it's just not cool, you know. Or
have a longer conversation.
Yeah, because if I'm just not, if that's not cool, then it's like fuck you. What is cool kind of thing.
Yeah. Or I think one of the things that I can do is sometimes it's just leave because I'm not capable of having an ongoing conversation, or the other person isn't, and you're going to make a point, but you don't want to just be, you know, like just canceling people all the time.
And I think that's why I didn't say anything, because I was just heated.
Yeah.
And I just.
But then you could go back and.
So later it was a reflection.
Come back to him.
Yeah.
Or I'm assuming I'm the person, and say, I'd like to talk to you about that comment.
Yeah. And there's been a few, like with this one person. It's not a friend of mine. It's a friend of. Yeah.
Well, then, or talk to the host or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's with the host a little bit. I don't know. I want to have that conversation. So keep going. How do I have that conversation?
I think to say the behavior and not like, you know, not I running schools and looking at behaviors. I feel like there's a lot of power in keeping people's humanity while naming behavior. So saying something like, you know, saying like that person is a racist makes racism a like, this is a personal identity. And, you know, like there are very few people who consider themselves racist. Right. But we're all walking around acting in ways that have racism involved. So saying like the behavior and getting specific of like, when this was said, this shows, you know, this is what happens. Like when I break down feminism for people, and one of the things that I feel like I have taken on is that I am willing to talk to my male friends and my friends' husbands about feminism because I can stay calm. So and that's one of my things is like, I'm able to do that. Not all the time, but then to name it and to stay calm and to stay like when, like, so then there'll be ways that people will start to shut down, like, or they'll say, yeah, but blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, actually that's a tactic. And to look at tactics, look at, this is what happens often, you know, this is just to go like, you know, and this is what I'm choosing to do. And to stay calm as best you can has been a good way for me to assist in changing culture.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you're always calm, but I think just if you're wanting to be an ally,
Yeah.
if you're, especially because a lot of times people will say they will work things out with a person that is not of the group they're dealing with. So I can talk to people about racism and white supremacy that are white, and because they'll be willing to make more mistakes. And if I don't allow those mistakes all the time, you know, but if I can hold the space to go, I'd rather you do it with me, even if I'm fatigued with it, but I can't imagine what a person of color, how fatigued they are with this shit.
No.
And so to just take some of that on.
Well, exactly. That's where it's like, okay, be uncomfortable, fucker.
Yes.
Go,
and be willing.
Be willing. Yeah.
And be willing to be
And
not
I know
liked.
I know that happened for me when I started talking about racism with Echo, and it was pointed out to me. I was at anyway, I was at a group talking about race, and kept coming the conversation coming up around having a conversation with kids, and I expressed, I'm like, I don't know how to have that conversation with my son, who was, I think, 6 at the time, without confusing him, because I'm just like, I don't know how to articulate it without like othering, or, you know, it's like, I was just like, I don't know if I'm ready to have that. And a person of color goes, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck. Yep. Okay. And I had conversations with Echo, and it stumbled around it, and, you know, but yeah, just being willing to be uncomfortable. I'm like, fuck, I know that, but in that moment I just was like, so there was a reflecting of like, okay, you know, I want to be able to have a voice, and maybe that be an ally. And the term that came up for me and my friend in that our affinity group was we were just talking, or we can get snowblind. Snowblind, we came up with that term. Where it's all white.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, race doesn't matter here in our white circle, but it does. It matters everywhere.
Yeah, and it's not a feeling. It's
No.
not like, I feel racist right now.
No,
like,
it's just we can just hide behind, you know, we're just like, we're in this white circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be within all the things, like within feminism and misogyny.
Yeah.
It's like, I think I will get blind to it all the time.
Yeah.
And I deeply care. I consider feminism as almost my core spiritual practice. Like that it really matters to me, and I consistently demonstrate misogynistic tendencies because it is so ingrained. Racism, classism, sexism are so ingrained.
Is it part because you're part of the oppressed? Is it being a woman?
You're just a human being in this culture. That it's and it's so ingrained that and there's so many defense mechanisms that we are taught that don't even seem like defense mechanisms. They seem like just the world. Like I listened to the All My Relations podcast, and it's indigenous academic women, and they question things about colonialism where I'm like, I didn't even know you could question that. But yeah, that is an aspect of colonialism, and not just the world. It's not just how things work. It's a capitalist colonial post-colonial society being, or, you know, culture being put onto another culture. And so to go like I keep searching for solid ground to stand on and have a stance, and that in itself is part of the problem.
Yeah.
But then we also need to try on things and do better consistently and all that. And so I think it's just like a meditation, a breathe in, breathe out. It's all, you're always going to be learning, and you're not going to find right or wrong.
And got to be willing to fail.
Willing to fail.
Yeah.
Even with this, we're having this conversation, and I'm scared, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to publish this.
A second ago, I'm like, God, should have said that.
And then I am even scared. Like, I am I'm female identified. I have all, I have a right to talk about this, and then I still am like, somebody's gonna come to me and be like, you said it wrong, you did it wrong, you're misguided in some way. And even when I'm saying it over and over and over again, that the how to be an ally is to be wrong and to be willing to be, I still want to protect myself. And then on the other side is like, we're talking about race, and it's scary. We're taught not to talk about race.
Well,
and being a spiritual person, what happens a lot is that we tend to want to bypass that by going, oh, but we're all spirit
equal
beings, and this is just melanin. And it's like, no, we're living in this world.
Yeah, exactly.
And
there's ultimate and relative.
Yeah.
The relative is very apparent.
And that there's
we're living in it.
Yeah, we're living in it, and everything is being filtered through it. And filtered through how we, like
on the other side, even having, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's totally. Man.
Go ahead.
Okay. Did I interrupt you? Do you have it finished? Can you finish it?
No, I was stumbling.
I was saving you.
From stumbling.
But this is, so on the other hand of being in Buddhist communities, there's also that, like, you need to stand up and blah, 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 and have more of a voice. Like, even this is like, I feel that pendulum sometimes too. And to be fucking, I feel that like, oh, I need to do more. And I know that there always needs to be more work, but I can be okay right where I'm at. Because to be fucking truly honest, this is totally new for me. Mm-hmm. In the last few years, I've white, cisgendered male, navigated through this life not having to think about it. And I'll fucking name that, I mean, I've seen it, but I'm in Santa Cruz, but, so really being on a fucking global level, on a fucking more bigger stepping back. So it's like, whoa, in an internal level, on a deep level, seeing where it's ingrained from systemic in my family and their, whatever. So it's really uncomfortable to really see the bigotry and racism within you that you haven't had to look at. Yes. And it's like, no, not me. But yeah, totally. So trying to stay right where I'm at, and just saying that, just those little sentences, uncomfortable. And I'm willing to be uncomfortable, and I'm glad we're having this conversation so I can learn more. Yeah, me too. I think. No, where did that go? I want to put my retreat was great. Yes, we'll talk about the 5 precepts, I guess, at some point. I think part of me wants to. I'm going to put in the show notes, like, if you're a person of color who doesn't want to listen to white people talk about this, just skip this one. And if you're, female identified and don't want to listen to people stumble over feminism, skip it. Because the other thing is, I'm like, how we're all going to be a cliche too. Yeah. Like, I don't like telling people I have a podcast. Yeah, no. Like, why do we have to have my friend asked podcasts? My friend asked me, what episode should I listen to? I'm like, none of them. It's all good. Yeah. My friend at Christmas. Just rate and review it. Yes. My friend at Christmas was like, well, is it really good? Or will I just be nice and act like I listen to it? And I was like, don't listen to my podcast. You are way too smart. This guy's really smart. And I was like, we talk about poo-poo and caca. You don't have to, friend. Like, go but listen. I think that's important to put that in the notes. And in all honesty, just fumbling through it, and basically we're having this conversation because I want to have a conversation with you, and if anybody wants to listen to it, cool. That's for my own. On the feminist side, I would say I'm not just having a conversation with you. I've decided to have a podcast because I do think I have something to say, right. And I think women's voices are valid and should be talked about. And that's where I have a right to say it. That's where it stemmed from, is because I do want to know how. Fart. And you did say you don't have to explain feminism to me, but you chose to. I'm not asking, like, so, and I want to know how I can you know, how a male can be a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you said that, oh, you're a feminist. I'm like, I don't fucking know what the fuck. You know?
Well, I think if you're not a feminist, you're an asshole.
Yeah,
Nowadays.
so it's just that.
Like, seriously,
but when I think of feminist, it's like, oh, yeah, you know, kind of, you know.
because that's a stereotype.
Exactly.
That has been constructed in order to
exactly
devalue the voices of people
see what I
talking
mean?
about injustice. To just go, a feminist is like all these things.
That's the ingrained in me, and I'm wanting to break that. So I really appreciate you having this conversation with me, taking the time.
Well, we'll have more.
Yes.
I think when we talk about it as kindness, for me, and that feminism and, you know, dealing with our white supremacy and dealing with all these things I think about, like, how can I be more kind in the world?
Yeah.
And part of that is shifting my language consistently to demonstrate kindness, shifting where I put my resources to demonstrate kindness. And kindness takes attention.
Yeah.
It takes learning more in order to do better, because we're not going to naturally just do that. Especially if you're in some sort of whiteout. What just happened? Did it stop recording?
No.
Oh, it's just gone super long. Jeremy, cut this shit down. We're fumbling, man. We're fumbling. Shit's getting crazy. I didn't mean to talk about this. I wanted to be safe and talk about the 5 precepts. Joe gave me a bracelet.
Yeah,
I love his bracelet. But we're going to start talking about this, and we're going to do it wrong and poorly, and then we're going to do better.
And thank you for listening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And you could rate and review if you want to. Only if you want to, really. It doesn't matter.
Oh, really? That's how your voice is?
If you're my friend, you better have rated
Inside,
and reviewed.
she's screaming.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy Miller.
You're awesome, Jeremy.
Yay. And thanks, Luke Clements, for doing our
the toast logo.
And then if you would like to get resources for meditation and seeing behind the scenes stuff from our podcast, or if you just love what we're doing and want to support us, go over to Patreon and then just do clickety click, I'll buy you a coffee, or clickety clack, I want to give you some money every month in order to help us continue this.
You can less than a cappuccino.
Or give us a lot of money. It would help. All right. Thanks, everybody. Yeah. We're fucking weirdos.
Thank you.